Ron's Tech Hub. Tech Hub. Huh. 491 subs after a year. That's nothing to sneeze at. Like, genuinely, that's good growth for such a young channel. But a few weeks ago, Ronnie Boy uploaded a video about how he, as a self-proclaimed tech expert, thinks console gaming is a better choice than PC, which naturally raised my ears, so I do what I always do when I find a video like this. I go through his other uploads and see what we're dealing with. And, this is what we're dealing with. He's a GPU miner. A GPU miner is about to tell us why PC gaming isn't all that great. Roll it.
Yo, welcome back, people. You don't know it's the King Boss. This video is going to be reasons as to why I think console is currently actually way better than PCs, well, a way better value. But before the PC gamers rip my head off, just hear me out, alright?
I always get excited when people preface their videos asking you not to get mad at them. If you were confident in your arguments, you wouldn't have to do this. There's a reason why I never preface my videos with an apology to the opposition. Because my opposition is wrong.
Alright, first of all...
Wait, play that again.
Alright, first of all...
You all heard that, right? His audio cut out and then came back and then cut out again. It's stuff like that that always raises the red flags with me when someone claims to be a PC gamer and is super well-versed in PC gaming and then they make basic editing mistakes in their video. Like, are you sure you really know how PCs work? I'm usually not one to dump on people's editing because, you know, glass houses and whatnot, but in this case I feel it's at least a little relevant.
First of all, let me start off by saying I love PCs, I love PC gaming.
Oh, yeah, sure, no, you love PCs and PC gaming. I believe the loving PCs part, but forgive me for not believing the PC gaming part. You realize that you and your GPU farming ilk are the reason PC gaming is such an awkward spot right now, right?
I love everything about computers. However, I do believe that consoles at the current moment and potentially a bit into the future is going to offer a lot more or a lot better price to performance than a PC would.
Okay, number one, you're wrong. Even with PC prices being what they are right now, it's still a better investment if you're looking into gaming. If you're just talking about graphics to hardware prices, it's a little close right now, but if you're talking about functionality and features, the PC still wins hands down. And number two, who do you think is driving the prices up right now, you wet fart? And that being said, GPU prices are starting to come down again, and you can get some pretty beefy cards for relatively cheap. Assuming this trend continues, PC gaming will soon, once again, win the price tag war as well as the functionality war. Also, price to entry isn't everything. A gaming PC is more expensive than a console on average, but that PC will last you way longer than a console, and everything about that PC is cheaper. Games, subscriptions, upgrades, repairs, it's all cheaper. So even from the perspective of a tunnel vision git like you have a steep hill to climb.
Now, back in the days, I would say actually PC is the only way to go. Having a console doesn't even make sense for me. But over the years, especially this new generation, the current gen now, which is PS5 and the Xbox Series X, I think that's out the window. Let me explain.
And I cannot wait for your reasoning for this. This is like that one meme from the Eric Andre show, but in real life.
So, if I were to build a PC right now, I would probably go for something like a 3060 Ti or a 3070 because they're so similarly priced.
I mean, you don't have to go for a 30 series. I play in 1080p still, like most people, and my 2070 runs pretty much everything I want how I would want it to. Not to mention it stomps the consoles at 1080p in terms of game performance. Not to make everything a hardware comparison, but I mean, that's kind of the point of this video. You don't have to go with the most expensive hardware to get performance you want. That's my point. If you're still playing at 1080p, or even 1440p really, the 20 series will do the job just fine.
I would probably go for some AMD chip that's either 6-core or 8-core with twice the amount of threads.
Again, that's your preference, but it's not even close to being a necessity.
I'd probably go for minimum 16 gigabytes of RAM, a 512 gigabyte SSD or 1 terabyte, so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, I'd agree there. The SSD not so much, but the RAM, sure. If you're building a PC in 2021, you probably want 16 gigs of RAM. 8 will do the job, but if you have some wiggle room in your budget, I'd go for 16 just for the sake of future-proofing. And as for the SSD, yeah, SSDs are a wonderful thing, but they're not necessary. There's nothing wrong with running an HDD right now, you just have to deal with longer load times.
But let me just say, I have right now a PS5 and an Xbox Series X, and if I were to buy a brand new 3070 right now, I would be spending the same amount of money I spent on the Series X and the PS5.
Okay, so wait for the prices to go down, or look into other cards. Also, I say it again, how did the prices get so high? To quote William Shakespeare, your brain is as dry as the remainder biscuit after voyage. As You Like It, Act 2, Scene 7.
Now, this has always been the case. It's always been the case where PC components are a lot more expensive than their console counterparts.
First of all, no. I built my first gaming PC in 2017 for roughly the same price as an Xbox One X, and it played games way better. Also, comparing PC hardware to console hardware is just a bad idea, because one of those markets is stagnant for years at a time, while the other one fluctuates and evolves. You're dumbing the conversation down way too much here.
However, consoles have somewhat caught up. Now, don't get me wrong, 4K 60 on a console is very different from 4K 60 on a PC. 4K 60 on a PC looks way better, runs way smoother, not in terms of the frame rate obviously, but there's more detail on screen.
Yeah, because the PC can actually hit true 4K. Like, not checkerboarded or dynamic or upscaled 4K, actual 4K. And we still have graphic settings while running that game at 4K. Graphical fidelity doesn't stop at the resolution counter.
If you have a GPU that can run 4K 60 as standard, you're getting a better experience overall compared to the same resolution and frame rate on a console.
And despite being a tech channel, you're just not explaining why. It took me, 8-9 seconds to explain it?
But where it comes in, as I said before, it's the price, right? The fact that you're actually getting 4K 60 on a console, and in the future, with future updates from Microsoft and Sony, you're going to be getting 8K, potentially 30 frames per second. That's amazing.
Jesus Christ. Okay, first of all, you cannot fucking drive. Is this your first time playing a video game? Second of all, updates from Microsoft and Sony aren't going to change the hardware capabilities of a console. That's fucking nonsense. Third of all, the console industry hasn't even mastered 4K yet. Do you really think they're going to jump to 8K 30 before they master 4K 60? Because that's not going to happen. Are games going to come out in 8K resolution? Yes, inevitably. But they're going to run like complete garbage for all the same reasons that 4K runs like garbage. You know, the reasons you glossed over not too long ago. 8K games are absolutely going to come out at some point, but nobody's going to play them. And how many people even have 8K monitors? 8K is a marketing gimmick. Stop falling for it.
That's amazing.
No, it's not.
It's never been the case where consoles have been so close to PCs.
They're literally not. Microsoft and Sony told you they're close, but anyone with eyeballs and a frontal cortex knows they're not.
I know that these consoles also have SSDs built in as standard. I mean, given there isn't much storage on them, because you get about 835 or 45 gigabytes with the PS5 and close to that with the Xbox One.
I'm sorry, you are fucking awful at this game. Why was this the footage you used? Like, here, replay.
I know that these consoles also have SSDs built in as standard. I mean, given there isn't much storage on them, because you get about 835 or 45 gigabytes with the PS5 and close to that with the Xbox One.
Buddy, you realize you don't have to hold the joystick all the way to one direction to turn, right? It's just like a real car. You're not supposed to fucking floor it when you make a slight turn.
So yes, you don't get a full 1 terabyte, but it's close enough. I mean, on my Series X, I've probably got 5-6 games installed, and normally I don't have any more than 1 or 2. So for me, that's overkill. I can live with 1 terabyte.
Yes, this is true. 1 terabyte is a good size for a gaming machine. 500 gigs is on the small side nowadays, but 1 terabyte's fine. Obviously, it all depends on the games you play, but I've made do with 1 terabyte for close to 4 years now. I've never had a single complaint.
And I would never buy that 219-pound SSD that Microsoft is trying to sell us. I might, at some point, get an M.2 drive for my PS5, just because I can upgrade that myself, and the prices for that would be relatively sensible.
Sensible upgrade prices must be nice.
Now, another reason why I think consoles are greater than PCs or better than PCs right now,
in addition to all the amazing reasons I've given.
Yes, PCs have more games, because if you go on a Steam store or some random website, you can download hundreds of games that are not on console and will probably never be on console.
Well, all that and backwards compatibility. PC has access to pretty much every game ever made, and if something isn't on PC right now, it will be in the future. Emulation's a beautiful thing, and the lack of true hardware generations like what you have on consoles means that pretty much every PC game ever released is still playable on modern PCs. I say it all the time, but if you're someone who likes to go back and play older games, get a PC. Even a relatively lower-end PC will play older games tremendously.
However, if you wanted the AAA stuff that's consistently being released by these companies every year, every other year...
Like Dirt 5? Well, actually, I'm not sure if you're technically playing Dirt 5 right now. You're doing something to it, but you're not playing it.
Then you're going to need to be on console. Yes, PC will get most of this stuff, but not everything.
Like what? Be specific, Bob.
Consoles are also now using PC hardware. I mean...
Okay, guess we're just not getting examples on that one. PC doesn't get everything the consoles do, and then he just moves on. Yes, I know console exclusives are a thing, but my point is the lack of elaboration on this guy's part. Also, almost every console exclusive will come to PC in one way or another, so are they really exclusives anymore? They shouldn't be a selling point in either direction.
Both these systems have an x86, well, 64-bit version of the AMD processors.
Oh look, Ron's Tech Hub is finally talking about tech.
The AMD GPU. So they have an AMD APU there. They have 16 gigabytes of RAM. They have an SSD. They have a motherboard. Right, these things are basically PC components that have been tailored to these consoles.
How is this any different than how it's been done in the past? Like, truly, other than the specific parts being used, how is the blueprint of a new console any different than last generation?
So having the same, let's not say the same, having similar spec on a PC, similar spec on a console, a PC, Microsoft has made Windows 10 a big mess.
I mean, I'm no fan of Windows 10, but you're going to have to clarify this one. You just jumped from hardware to software without even completing your sentence.
Now, Windows 11 is coming, but I don't think it's going to be that much of an improvement.
That's the spirit.
Performance-wise, it might be a bit forward. Visual effects and so on, it might be a bit of a jump, but not so much that going from Windows 10 to Windows 11 will maybe yield you 30% performance, right?
Wait, did you just say a 30% jump is nothing special? That's a tremendous jump. I know these aren't official numbers, but holy shit, bro, your own ballpark examples are working against you.
Whereas on a console, the operating systems and UIs that they have, it's so simplified, it's so well programmed that
simplified and well programmed are not interchangeable. A lack of features and a lack of options are not good things.
it uses a minimal amount of resources to actually have the UI and the rest of the operating system running, which means that most of that power can be thrusted or pushed towards the gaming performance that people want.
Speaking of gaming performance, you didn't even finish this race. Like, why is this the footage you used? In any matter, you're implying here that the simplification of hardware somehow means the consoles give you better performance when literally the opposite is true. Sure, the simplified configuration of a console means games will run more, I guess we can charitably call it reliably, but that reliable performance is still going to be locked and kind of shitty compared to what's possible on PC. The PC has stronger hardware, so that alone can just brute force its way to better performance, but the PC is also just a more complex system of parts which can allow you to tailor the game to your wants. Graphic settings, DirectX, mods, overclocking, these are all options that you have that don't exist on console, or at best, barely exist. Simplification is not inherently good, especially not for game performance.
I mean, 4K 60, 1080p 120, that's amazing. I mean, 4K 120 as well.
Because native 4K 120 is so widespread on consoles.
There is going to be an option for 4K 120 in the future.
That's not going to age well.
So I just think both these companies have done really well. And as a PC gamer, as an original PC gamer, the first game I ever played was on my PC. I actually, on consoles, just to let you guys know how unbiased I am.
Buddy, if you're unbiased, then I love the government.
On consoles, I still use a mouse and keyboard. For example, games like Gears of War 5 or Gears, whatever they call the most recent one, I've played that with mouse and keyboard.
Oh yeah, guys, I'm unbiased. I don't even know what game I'm talking about, but trust me, I play it, and I'm unbiased.
Games like Metro, I think it was called Exodus, I played that with mouse and keyboard. And games like GTA 5, which don't even support mouse and keyboard, I went out and I bought what's known as a Zim Apex, and I had a Zim 4 before. And that's basically a mouse and keyboard translator, which allows me to plug my mouse and keyboard into my console and play with mouse and keyboard, simply because I'm such a PC gamer at heart.
Preferring mouse and keyboard doesn't make you a PC gamer at heart, the same way preferring controllers doesn't make you a console gamer at heart. Just use whatever input you want and judge the platforms based on what actually makes them unique, because it's not the input device.
I've sat down for years and years, and I've tried to use a controller. I'm mainly a first-person or third-person shooter gamer. I've sat down and I've tried to use a controller. I've tried to learn how to use just my thumb to aim, and it just doesn't work for me. I've tried many times, it doesn't work for me.
And as someone who used to play shooters on console and then switched to PC, I have no fucking idea how I did it for as long as I did. There was a point where on Xbox One, I was top 5,000 globally in Black Ops 3 for certain game modes. But 4 years of mouse and keyboard later, I have no clue how I ever played shooters on controller, let alone really vertical ones like Black Ops 3 and Titanfall. Props if you can do it well, but goddamn, it's so much better on mouse and keyboard.
As much as I do think consoles are better for this generation and potentially moving forward,
because of all these great reasons I listed,
I still use PC components to game. All right, so just my thoughts on a topic that I think I wanted to address.
Yeah, I'm done with this one. Look, if you prefer consoles to PC, there's plenty of legitimate reasons to do so. But you know whose options I truly do not respect? People like this dude. Someone who is simultaneously a GPU farmer and a console peasant, which I didn't even know was possible. Nothing you said in this video was a valid argument, and I take great pleasure in making this video, because you don't even seem to realize that you are the reason why the PC market is where it is right now. Stop mining crypto, start doing research, buy a better microphone, and learn how to play video games before you talk about them. Please and thank you. Toodles.